Sisters. I'm Mom Birella.
And I'm CJ Peterson. Welcome to Magic Making Mischief. Get your wands to the ready because
we solemnly swear we're up to no good.
And causing all sorts of havoc everywhere we go. Today we have a special guest. It's voice actor Stephanie Nadolny. We're super excited to have her here because she's an awesome lady and we're excited to chat with her. But before we get to it, for those who don't know, next week, Mom Birella and I will be or this weekend, sorry.
Yes, this weekend.
We'll be covering the Pop Culture Power Show, and Mombi has this short video we'd like to show you about it. Here we go. Yay.
Yeah, they're gonna have Mombi, a lot of voice actors from G.I. Joe and stuff there, so that's gonna be awesome.
So you want to give like a really quick, short 2-minute while I do some background stuff about what the pop culture thing is about?
Yeah, 2 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna dance for everybody. All right, ready? So I was saying earlier, Stephanie, I'm sorry. I have said your last name wrong since I met you, and I apologize. I don't know why. I just automatically assumed I knew how to read it because my actual name is really hard to say as well. So people would always mispronounce it. So it's funny. Hey, Joy.
Yeah. So Pop Culture Power Show is what?
So Pop Culture Power Show, it is in Stafford, Texas. It is brand new and coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. They have got voice actors from Transformers, G.I. Joe. They've got comic book artists who have done, let's see, Rick and Morty, Wolverine, Transformers, I believe. And then there's going to be, I know a few people who are actually going to have booths there.
Well, I know for sure that we'll be running around for at least Saturday.
Yukita Cosplay is going to be there. Oh, and then Saturday. Hold on. I believe it's Saturday or Sunday. My brain went blank. They have a cosplay contest.
Oh, yeah.
With a cash prize.
It's usually on Saturday. But for those who don't know or know Yukita Cosplay, she's actually in the middle of a contest. So make sure to go to her Facebook page because there's a link where you can vote for her for free. And we're trying to get her up. Last time I checked, I think she was in 5th place.
Was she? Oh, that's awesome.
We need to kind of get her going. But today, our special guest is Stephanie Nadolny. She's been a voice actress for over 33 years. Way to go. Stephanie was the voice actor for Goku and was it Kid Goku?
Kid Goku. Go
there
on. What? Oh my. And Baby Trunks. As well as other side voices. KO, let's be heroes. Let's defend the plaza. That's on Cartoon Network.
There you go. For those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about Dragon Ball Z, maybe in a little bit of Goku voice?
Yeah. So I'm Goku, and I have a flying Nimbus, and I'm raised in the woods, and I'm a fighter, and I'm strong, and super innocent and fun, and everything's an adventure with Dragon Ball. And then eventually Goku grows up and has a son, and his name is Gohan. And I'm also Gohan, which is interesting because I was cast as Gohan before I was cast as Goku, because we picked up where it was left off with the Ocean dub in Canada. So we started at like episode 54. So when I got cast, I had no idea what anime was. I had no idea who Gohan was. I actually auditioned for the show. And auditioned for all the female roles, just thinking that would be what they would be, looking for from me being a female. But they actually liked my little boy voice, and I was cast as Gohan. Gohan, don't hurt my dad. And then he grows up to be super powerful as well. And he, some of his big moments are in the Cell Saga when he's fighting the Cell, which is the villain in that arc. And then he turns into this voice, and he's extremely powerful and very manly. Ah! Lots of screaming, lots of pregnant pauses, lots of excitement. Good versus evil. Thankfully I play a good guy. So I'm a little boy hero, basically, that grows up and has a family, and there's all kinds of other characters, and all other planets. It's a whole adventure, and it's Japanese animation. Kira Toriyama wrote the story, and it's just been a bigger than life franchise that I'm very grateful to be a part of. Really popular, more popular than I realized. I'm doing pop culture conventions and comic book appearances, and it's been sustaining my livelihood here, especially coming out of COVID and being able to travel and meet and greet the fans, get out in the trenches, sign autographs, take pictures. It's great. I love it because I love people and I love the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. When you first started doing the conventions and stuff, were you how did you get into them originally? Like whenever afterwards, when you started doing the conventions, how did you first get into them?
Well, the first convention I ever went to, I was a guest with 3 of the other lead roles in Dragon Ball Z back in summer of 2000, and it was San Diego Comic-Con, and I had never been to I had never been to a Comic-Con.
You're just diving right in the deep end.
Right. The show was bigger than I realized. Still to this day, I'm blown away by it. So that was my first experience, and I didn't know they had them all over the world and all over now more than ever, I think. Every weekend in every city and state, it seems like, or well, maybe not that many, but there's a lot of them now. I mean, and I showed up to that one with, like I said, 3 other characters who were male. I guess we were all male characters, and I was the only female there, which is interesting because a lot of the fans would come through and they wouldn't believe me when they'd say, "You're the voice of Gohan, but you're a girl," and so I had to prove that the entire weekend. So I needless to say, I was completely depleted and hoarse and completely blew out my voice that weekend, but it was totally worth it. I mean, that was a big one with a lot of Marvel characters. I met Lou Ferrigno for the first time, and he's still in the circuit doing it now, years and years later. So that's going on 23 years. So, that was my first one. And then I did some for a while, and we did some mall tours with the Score trading card game, Dragon Ball Z trading card game. And then, years kind of went by, and then I finished up and did a bunch of games. And then I just figured it was going to kind of be old news, but in all actuality, because the show is so popular, the franchise itself is so popular, I'm able to make a living right now just doing appearances and meeting people like you guys. That's how I met you guys, was at conventions and appearances, whether it be comic book stores or restaurants or Dragon Ball Z themed restaurants, which I know I met in Conroe. We went to that one, and I don't know, I'm in the industry now. I made a lot of friends. You guys are perfect examples of the interaction that we have with other people in the industry, whether they be artists, authors, creative arts has always been in my heart and soul since I was a little kid. I've always been a singer and a I wouldn't say necessarily a class clown, but to some degree, I was kind of the silly one, and always, wanting to dive into theater, singing, choir, talent shows, community theater, whatever it was. That was my passion. So that's how it all started for me in the industry as far as voice acting, especially for anime in particular.
So have you ever been starstruck yourself with somebody that you've met? Because I know a lot of times you go to these conventions, there's a lot of famous people there. And so have you ever been so starstruck that you're just like, I can't
remember. Most of my, I get a little more starstruck, I guess, from growing up with music and being such big fans of disco and all kinds of different kinds of music. So I get really excited about meeting famous musicians. But as far as at Comic-Cons, I'm trying to think. I met a lot of really big stars in the overseas trips. Like I remember going to New Zealand and Australia in 2002 and 2004. But I really remember the big one for me was Christopher Lloyd in 2012.
Oh, wow.
I was pretty starstruck. And I was actually one of the guests too, like in the lineup of all these people from all these different shows, whether it be, Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. Sean Astin was a big one for me. We're the same age, and I love him. I grew up watching this stuff when I was, from the 80s, growing up. And so he was a big one, and Christopher Lloyd. So Christopher Lloyd was big. I just being on the same bus with him, going to and from the event every day. I'm like, how in the world, little old me, I'm like, Christopher Lloyd is in the seat in front of me. This is crazy. So I definitely had to get a picture with him. Thankfully, that wasn't so difficult being that I was a guest as well. It made it a little bit easier. And then, just the 80s, just a lot of the, Catherine Bach from Dukes of Hazzard. I met Eric Estrada recently from Chips. Yeah, it's a really exciting life. You don't know who you're going to meet. I check out the website before I go, like, who's going to be at this one, But I do a lot of them with other fellow voice actors, mostly voice actors. And occasionally some musicians get peppered in there. But yeah, but that first one in 2000 was crazy. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Carrie Fisher was there.
Be still my heart.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about that.
I mean, have you ever just stood there going, who am I and how did I get here? This is where I'm at, this is what I do.
How am I still doing these? Like, how am I still a draw? Like, that's what blows me away more than anything. Oh, I have to say Peter Mayhew was a big one too. 2004. Oh, wow. Hung out with him, did a lot of extra appearances. We did some interviews together. We visited a children's hospital, got to hold cute little babies, did some panels with him. And then, yeah, it was also Veronica Taylor. She's the voice of Ash. And so we did a bunch of stuff with her as well. So Peter Mayhew was definitely up there, and getting to hang out with him and his wife and like go to like lunch. I'm going to lunch with Chewbacca. It's like mind blowing.
How is this possible?
Okay, right. So I'm going to skip back to the show for a minute. Do you have any favorite lines or funny lines that have kind of stuck with you that are your favorites?
Well, yes, for Goku, who I personally I enjoyed voicing both, not just Gohan and Dragon Ball Z, but also Goku and Dragon Ball. They're completely different shows. I say different. I mean, it's just Goku in Dragon Ball is much more carefree. There's a lot of comedy, a lot of slapstick, a lot of silliness, which I personally love because I'm a silly person and playful. I got to kind of be this little boy that I could never really be in true life. So I had a lot of fun with that role. He says funny things like, not just power pull extend, yoo-hoo, flying nimbus. He'd say things like, I was just checking to see if you had a tail. No big deal. Like he would do things that would be.
I forgot about that. At the beginning, he had a tail.
Yeah, and he would be checking Bulma, kind of under her dress, and she'd get upset at him. But I was just checking to see if you had a tail. Oh, you are a girl. And he'd kind of pat people like to see if there was anything in that.
Wait, so did you do the line whenever he realized the difference between boys and girls in that episode? Was that you?
Yeah. He doesn't understand why he can't get in the bathtub with Bulma. Hey, why don't I come in? There's plenty of room. Yeah. Yes, we're gonna buy. There was a lot of that and stuff. So, and then Gohan, that's Goku's another Goku line that's so funny is, why do women have butts on their chests? And that's funny because it's like he doesn't know the difference. And then Gohan. He had some key lines like, don't hurt my dad. He was always like protective of his friends.
He was more intense or serious in his part.
Yeah,
well, exactly. There's a little bit of humor in there, though, right? I think I remember a little bit of humor in his parts.
Mm-hmm. Jordan says Stephanie Nadolny.
Sprinkled through.
Sorry. Yeah. So I get people asking me to, a lot of, and then for like Gohan in the Cell Saga, he's more like, he's the Cell Saga, he defeats the villain. And so, people like, some of the key lines like, I'm my father's son, like some of these lines that kind of help, I don't know, boost people to get going in life. Or some people work out to like the screams from Dragon Ball Z and the music. It's very, it pumps you up. It gets you excited. It gets you like full of energy. It's just like a good inspiration to like, get through your workout. I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. So I hear some feedback from the fans that,
I guarantee you it's probably all over TikTok for sure. Because they will take lines like that, just reuse them for stuff. Yeah.
Right. And people actually will get tattoos. Like a friend of mine who I know through I met her in Connecticut, but she's a big fan. She just had like the Dragon Ball, like the 4-star Dragon Ball tattooed on her arm.
but she had it tattooed how I drew it, which I was like, well, why? Because I'm not an artist. She's like, no, that's what's so cool about it. It's like you drew it. Like it's imperfect in the way that because you drew it. And I'm just blown away by that kind of stuff. Like,
Oh, wow.
crazy.
That is pretty cool.
But
So you're
I'm very
honored. I was gonna say you're
Say
also a singer, correct?
I am a singer. I started out singing long, long ago as a little kid. The second my dad put a microphone in my hand that was connected to the speaker, I was totally hooked. He couldn't get it out of my hand. I'd get in lots of trouble for that. It's like bedtime. No, let's keep singing. So I started out singing. Both of my parents were not musicians, but they were very big into music. So there was always a record player. As I got older, it was cassette tapes, then CDs. My brother was always into music. He's older, so I got really into classic rock by listening to a lot of his music. And as soon as I was able to get on a stage and sing, I was doing it. I think my first performance, I was 6 and it was at school. I had to overcome some stage fright though. I was kind of like singing at home in front of my mom was like no biggie, or singing in the car, until everyone's like, okay, that's enough. But yeah, so then I did show choir, community theaters, sang in a lot of musicals. I wanted to go to LA or New York as a kid and just dive into the industry. I wanted to, do anything from commercials to, I think at one point I thought I could maybe get into pageants, but then that kind of fell away because I was really more into the talent part of it. But yeah, it was kind of I was extremely vocal. I mean, I got a lot of trouble for that, but you know what? I learned from those experiences, even just crying in my room, I would find myself vocalizing like I'm supposed to be in trouble. I'm in my room doing something wrong. And I would spend that time in my room singing. Then I got into writing poems and then lyrics and songs. And I got really into writing in a journal and a diary. Then I got really into reading. And so I kind of went through these stages, but it always started with, and still to this day, with the voice and the different sounds that you can make with the voice and mimicking. And I would make up my own stories and interview my friend, and she would interview me, and we would always change our voices to be these characters. And that was probably right around age 12, 13. And we'd record them on cassette tape. We would make up the theme. We would sing the theme, harmonize with each other. So yeah, it was very creative, and it was a really great outlet for me to spend my time doing those types of things. Kept me out of trouble too. Kept me off the streets. I can't fascinated with it as
anything. That's why I'm just like kind of mind boggled on that one.
Yeah.
Have you?
Piano too. And I'm back in piano now, so I got into writing. That's why it was even better, because then I could accompany myself and learn how to play piano and sing at the same time, which is a whole different venue there. So
wow, talented.
Yeah. It was just something that came natural, and being able to develop it was great. We can always get better at whatever we're doing, right? So yeah. So and then joined a show band at 18. Got an audition for an even bigger one at 19, and traveled the world, mostly United States, a little bit in Europe, with Vince Vance and the Valiants, featuring the vivacious vixens of rock and roll Venus, Violet and Victoria. I was Violet, and we had costumes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I learned how to front a band. Vince Vance was kind of like the B-52s guy, but he had his own band. The band's been around 52 years in this September. I joined right at their 20th anniversary. I was just a baby, totally green. Next thing you know, I'm on a tour bus traveling the United States, and boy, was that crazy coming from small town, moved around a lot, always kind of a misfit, but knew that's what I wanted to do. And then I jumped right into it and then really never looked back. And ever since then, I've been performing and auditioning, involved in anything from theater to teaching voice lessons. And now I'm going to be doing some workshops and I'm going to be a guest workshop actor at a voice acting workshop here in the next few weeks too. So I'm diving into all kinds of different stuff. All of it's based in the creative arts. And if I can inspire young kids that want to get into the industry or give them advice or mentor them and encourage them, I'm all about it.
Awesome. Speaking of which, do you have any words of encouragement that you would give for people who that's that are still building that dream, that goal, whether it's voice acting, singing, whatever they're working towards, what would be a piece of advice that you'd like to give to them? Is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, stay humble, man. We're all here. We're all a part of the collective universe, and we all are brothers and sisters. And so just, to stay humble and not, if you get cast in something really big, just kind of like, that's awesome, but kind of like stay cool. And I know I've always stayed true to my roots and very down to earth. But just to be ready for a lot of no's, because, you may not get the role of your dreams right away. But if you work on your craft and you stay positive, you may have to take some jobs you don't like, but it builds your character. To just stick with it and just really hone in on what it is you want to do and take classes. There's workshops. There are so many more opportunities now than ever to just jump online and learn more about whatever it is that you're pursuing in the industry, whether it be, singing in a band, or you can work on harmonizing. I learned a lot of my harmony through being in church as a kid, listening to those harmonies and naturally hearing them. If you just need to submerge yourself in it, but surround yourself with other people who want to pursue the same dream. And like I said, there's in-person Zoom meetings where you can, get advice on how to get into the industry. I mean, you can literally be as simple as like putting in a Google search for it. And there's also outlets where you can audition for non-paid roles to get experience, which I highly recommend. Practice. You can have your own home studio. Read scripts, listen back. If you want to be a comedian or you want to, work on mimicking, work on your timing, go to improv classes are like crazy awesome. I did some improv too. I mean, it's just good to kind of know a little bit about each part of the industry. And then just kind of focus on what you want to do in that industry and then just keep at it. I was told years ago, and when I was majoring in drama at UNT in North Texas, in Denton, they said we had people come in and have we'd have speakers that were in the industry. If you want to do anything else at all, this isn't for you. Like if this is what you want to do, then that's it. Like you got to stay the course, or you'll be sadly disappointed. So put your heart and soul into it and get as much experience as you can. I mean, some people think you can just go audition for something. Well, that's true if it's an open audition, but it's always best to get that experience under your belt. And some people major in drama and have a degree and may or may not get cast in something. I personally would like to do a role where I'm singing and voicing the voice. That's my dream, because my singing is my first love and the voice acting is right there with it. And it's all the voice for me. So
yeah. Very cool. So I was looking on your website that's going across the bottom, which is stephanienadolny.com. Appearances. Where are you showing up next? Because you're kind of all over, actually.
I've been kind of all over the place. Yeah. And I was, what's cool is I'm kind of I was touring with a show band, and then I had this period of time where I was kind of local and singing in a local band, and we're traveling just a little bit, and now I'm back on the road again. So it wasn't very difficult to make that transition at all, because I'd already been doing it all through my 20s and 30s. So I'm just back on the road, which I can kind of pick up and go. I've got animals. I wasn't able to have kids, unfortunately, but that enabled me to be able to travel and kind of jump in the car and go wherever I need to go. I'm going to be in Oklahoma City this weekend. I've got Lawton at the end of April. I will be down in Del Rio the 22nd of April. What else? I might be headed to California. We're waiting to hear back on that, a last minute Easter show. So that might happen. That's kind of exciting. And then May is crazy. May is exciting. I'm going to upstate New York the first weekend. KamehaCon 5 is the second weekend. The third weekend is Aurora, Colorado, which is also my birthday. I'm so excited. And then the end of that month, New Mexico just got booked. And then June and July are also full of some exciting places. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but I know I'll be in Oregon, which is fun because I've never been to Oregon ever. So Portland, Salem, Oregon. I think I might be in Lubbock. We're waiting on that one. But yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of taking it a week at a time and booking the calendar. And I have time during the week to do that and to do these types of interviews with you guys. And I take care of my animals. I just made a big move. So I moved into a different house. So now I'm setting up a studio with my business manager, Dan Bradford, who helps me with all of my technical stuff. He's also my business manager and best friend and many other things. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of dabbing in a little bit of everything. I'm also going to, like I said, be working on getting a curriculum together for the workshop that I'll be sitting in on. And if that works out good and I'm comfortable with it, I'll be like, hey, call me if you need me again. I'm subbing with a band I used to sing with in the middle of April. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like a chameleon.
Everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything steady other than my weekends, but that leaves me the time to make the calls, talk to clients, prospect new areas of United States that I'd like to visit, where I may be a draw, where I might be invited. That's different, that's not always kind of the same venues and the same regions. But yeah, I mean, being in Texas, in North Texas, I do a lot of in-state appearances, and I make the rounds. What can I say?
Well, I know that
I get around.
I know you put a lot of the posts up. So for people who want to follow you on social media, how do they find you?
Oh, well, the website's the first go-to. That's stephanienadolny.com. I do have a Facebook page, Stephanie Nadolny, voice actress. I have an Instagram. It's just my name, Stephanie Nadolny. I've got a great fun TikTok I've had for a year now, which I thought would be like a flop, but it's been very fun. It's been very exciting to utilize some of those creative talents to jump in and do TikToks with other voice actors, other fans in the industry. And so that's at Steph Nadolny. And then I do have Twitter. I'm not on there much, but that's Steph Vox, STEPHVOX. So yeah, I jump on there a lot. I'm kind of an anime. I call myself an anime mom because like all my anime fans are my kids that I could never have. So, I go to these events and they'll hand me their babies and I'm like, oh, babies, so that's kind of how I get to channel my nurturing motherly, part of me. So all of you guys are my anime babies. And so I have that time to get online and encourage others and like people's posts and, spend that time encouraging other people, because that's a huge part of, what I feel like we should be doing is giving back. And when you're in good shape, help others who are not so much in good shape to try to build them up and help them through tough times. Because we all go through really tough times. And I went through my own dark times and very, very grateful to be here and to have survived it, so yeah, just want to be a good inspiration and leave some kind of a legacy that's a positive one.
Well, I think that's definitely been the case. And Works Hard, MK3 Fam's been on here. She saying hi, so listening on. So thank you for this. Awesome. And I gotta say, like, I know you've got a lot that you love to do, but just the anime that you started it all, really, I mean, as far
Gateway
as like,
anime.
Getting out there. Yeah. It's like, it's become generational. It's passed down to the next generation of kids, and it's like, even now it's like about to pass down again. It seems like.
I hear a lot of stories of the parents now that are sharing it with their kids. And they're getting back into the beginning, going back to the beginning with Dragon Ball and Goku, and it's a lot more geared towards younger audiences, which is a lot more appropriate. Dragon Ball Z is definitely a more serious. It still has its funny moments, but it's serious. It's got a lot of fighting, a lot of really intense suspense scenes, and fighting. It's basically fight, good versus evil, which is a universal concept of, fighting the demon, fighting the bad guy, it's the same kind of concept. And then overcoming your own, I don't want to say weaknesses, I guess weaknesses and trouble spots, and then coming out victorious. Of course, not everybody's victorious, but I think that's kind of what it's mostly about. And it's just got like a lot of characters and a lot of character development, which I feel like they really did with Gohan and some of the other key characters. Hello. And I can relate to Gohan. My mom passed away right as I was cast as Gohan. She was fighting cancer, and I've already outlived her, which is crazy. And she was my world, my mother. My mother was my biggest support. She was my oasis, my fortress from moving around and not fitting in and having a lot of self-esteem issues. My mom was like who I ran to. So having to go through that she actually was the first one to sit and watch the show with me on Cartoon Network and see Gohan on the screen was airing on Cartoon Network. So that was a special moment for me. But Gohan loses his father, Goku. The big scene in the Cell Saga, Goku's talking telepathically into Gohan's ear. And so I feel like in my life, personally, I've gone back to that scene and like really felt that my mom was there and that she was cheering me on and to get, past my own, roadblocks and my own demons and stuff. So I always revert back to that. And it's funny because I voiced it years and years ago, but when I see it or I see scenes from it, I know that I was channeling a lot of that energy from having lost my mother. So I felt like I could really kind of relate to what Gohan was going through. And it definitely showed through in the acting, for the voice acting for sure.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's something really close to you, and I appreciate that. We're unfortunately out of time, so we're gonna have to have you back again because we can
yes, we'd love to have you back.
I would love that.
Yeah, well, we'll get you back on. So guys, don't worry, we'll get her back. But in the meantime,
love that.
Yeah, definitely. Next week, we're going to have Liam Russell on, the artist from Psycho Sal. Same place, same sandbox you found us today. This weekend, we're going to be at the Pop Culture
Power Show. Yes.
In Simmons, Texas.
Stanford,
Texas. In Stanford, Texas. So if you're there, make sure to find us. I'll be wearing my I solemnly swear I'm up to no good t-shirt. So make sure to find us running around. In the meantime, have a blessed week. Stay safe. The weather's kind of funky out there. So we'll see you. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your heart.
Thank you so much.
I hope you guys in person soon. Definitely. I'll be coming to Houston. I'm going to be looking for you guys.
Definitely. In the meantime, make sure get your wands to the ready because for today,
I have a pencil.
Just manage.